Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
It is The Savage Nation, don't worry about it. It's Monday morning. What do you want me to do, set the world on fire? Has Rush Limbaugh become the Oprah Winfrey of the Republican Party? Don't call me on that one. It just entered my mind. I am so sick and tired of listening to the radio and hearing the Republicans are the answer to the Republic's problems. I'm sick of it, and I'm not going to buy it anymore. I carved out the independent conservative niche for myself 15 or 16 years ago, and all I hear is Republican going to save the world. Republicans are good. Democrats are bad. Republicans are the answer. Ronald Reagan is God. I'm sick of it. It's all bullcrap, so I'm not going to talk about it. Instead, I'm going to talk about Mad Men, the final episode. I'm going to talk about Al Sharpton's daughter twisting an ankle and suing for $4.5 million and then being seen hiking, I don't know, in a mountaintop in the Himalayas. Man, that apple don't fall far from the rotten tree. But in this case, not the apples are rotten, but the tree is rotten. How does this man get away with it? But look at the progeny he produces. Okay, that's number two. Number three. The real Fidel Castro. I know the Pope loves Fidel, the communist dictator drug dealer, according to a new book that just came out from a man who was Fidel's bodyguard for 17 years. Did you hear what I said? Not written by a liberal. Fidel Castro's bodyguard for 17 years, who was thrown in jail by that rat, wrote a book about the real Fidel Castro, and he says he was a drug dealer and a miserable, mean, evil dictator. That's the new friend of the Pope. That's the man that Obama opened up new channels with. And you morons think it's wonderful, that it's very progressive. That's topic 4. That's 4. Number 5. I read over the weekend, I saw that the Delta Force, haven't heard of them for a while. I guess the special forces were getting too much credit. But apparently the Army wanted to get in on the action with the Delta Force. And they, the great Barack Obama, in between looking for the putt and the hole and the ball, directed an attack on Abu Sayyaf, a key ISIS figure, and allegedly he was killed and his wife was captured, and all of our troops came home safely. Isn't that nice? They got intelligence on how the terror organization operates, communicates, and earns money, and all of our men in the Delta Force came home safely. Not so much as a scratch. Well, I have a question for you. Is it propaganda? Because just a day before, we read that another city had been overrun by Obama's JV team, ISIS. The next day, we had Delta Force does a miraculous raid like this, and every schmuck in the media is all over it. Yay! The great commander-in-chief, Obama, has done it again. Why are there no pictures? Must I eat it? Take it whole? Swallow it whole? Must I believe everything the government media complex puts out? I have no way of knowing whether Delta Force did this to you. It could be Capricorn 1 for all I know. Topic number 6. I've given you 6 topics. Has Rush Limbaugh become the Oprah Winfrey of the Republican Party? Is Al Sharpton's daughter a twin for the evil father? The Mad Men final episode. My book, Countdown to Mecca, some bookstore stories. The real Fidel Castro, according to his bodyguard of 17 years. Do you believe the U.S. Army Delta Force really killed the ISIS leader? Now, if that's not enough for you, I got a little bit more. But before we go into a little bit more, and it's a new contest I'm running. That's right. You can go to michaelsavage.com and see what I'm doing. No one has done this in the history of radio, what I'm about to do. I'm forever reinventing stuff for the radio show. Every day, all I do is think about the show and how to make it more adventurous than the day before. So I've created something I think you're going to like, and it's interactive. It's actually an interactive thing that I've created for you, the listener. I want to play the sound to Mad Men for a moment on the Savage Nation. It's a series on A&E that ended. Love it. Love the opening. Now, I've been captivated by this show from the beginning. I loved it for many years, then I didn't like it. I liked it best when January Jones was a skinny, vampy twin for some of the great, let's say, sirens in the history of film. Once they turned her into a sow living in Westchester with a Republican congressman, or I don't know what he was, an attorney general, I don't know what. I lost interest in her when she became fat and sat in the house. Okay, and I liked when she was in the house originally with Don, with the two children. It was the original America that we all grew up with, the little New York, the dream of America. Mother, father, children, house, picket fence. And what really went on? I mean, he was a runaround lunatic. The 7th season ended last night. Some say it was among the best in TV history. I wouldn't say so. The Sopranos are still number one. Of course, many of the same incredible film people who created The Sopranos created Mad Men, in case you don't know that. Matthew Weiner, for example, used to write many of the episodes of The Sopranos. Many of the cinematographers, producers, directors who worked on The Sopranos worked on this, and I saw overlap, like a dance scene last night of a guy, them skating through an empty house. Okay, fine. Let's say it was one of the best TV shows in history. But what is it really about? Well, for those of you who watched it, you know what it's about. Mad Men is not just the story of Don Draper and January Jones's character. Don was a womanizing ad exec. He couldn't keep his hand off any woman, no matter who it was. Soccer team of the daughter, babysitter, neighbor. The guy was an all-around DB. And he has a hidden past. Changed his name, shot his commanding officer in Korea, horrible background. Good-looking ad man type of Madison Avenue. But what the show is really about is the weird transformation that America went through in the 1960s. That's the real story of the show. It's why many of us were captivated by it, because we've lived through it. We went from the 1950s, where things were stable, America was all powerful, we had Pax Americana, everything was American, everyone wanted to be in America. All of a sudden, the degenerates like Allen Ginsberg, Timothy Leary, and the lawyer who went down south to run the anti-racism marches, I forget the lawyer's name, the three of them, plus a few of the early feminists, Betty Friedan and the other DBs, delayed broadcasters, they destroyed America. They single-handedly destroyed America, and our post-war optimism went to pot. Marijuana had a big role in the destruction of America, as it is right now, and everybody lost their minds. The whole country lost their minds. Everyone became crazy. Dark decade, civil unrest, mustaches, bell-bottoms, underarm hair for women, patchouli oil, STDs became rampant. And so last night it ended, the show ended. And it ends with him at Esalen. For those of you who didn't know the setting, it was up in Carmel area on a bluff with everyone going om and sitting around with the phony guru and all of that. And Don had run away from the ad business, as many people in the ad business did in that era. They all were running away. They wanted to find themselves and write the great novel. Some of them did. Most of them didn't. Don goes to the cliffside and he does om and he meditates. He finds himself. He starts to cry on another man's arm. I thought I was going to end in a gay scene with him running off with the bald guy, frankly. I was thanking God it didn't. When he hugged the bald guy who was crying, I said, oh, God, no, please. Matthew, don't do this to us. But no, it ends with the Coca-Cola ad, We Are the World. So you're supposed to believe that after Don, who ran away from advertising, gave away his Cadillac to a bum hitchhiking on the road and finds himself in Esalen crying on a bald guy's shoulder, after Don finds himself to believe he goes back to Madison Avenue with the greatest new campaign in history for Coca-Cola called We Are the World. In other words, he co-opted the hippie movement. That's the subtext of it. But what do you think about Mad Men? Did anyone watch it? Am I talking about something you'd rather not hear about? The news out there is so horrendous right now that I can do that in a few minutes. And as well as that, when I return, I have a new contest I've created for my listeners that you can preview on michaelsavage.com right beneath the book ad for Countdown to Mecca. So let me introduce my questions for listeners and give you my phone number, which is 855-400-7282. I've given you 5, 6, 7, 8 topics. You can call on any one of those. And while you're doing that, here are some of the questions for the listeners, and I'm going to read it to you. I wrote it last night. On the Savage Nation, we talk a lot about the problems facing America. Well, it's time to get serious about the solutions. How do we get from where we are today to true representative government? How do we stop the progressive Islamist takeover and reestablish our borders, language, and culture? Now, I've told you some of my solutions over the months and years I've been on the radio. Now I'd like to hear yours. Would you like to see your name in print in a new Michael Savage book? Then give me your answers to some of these tough questions that I ask every day on the Savage Nation. If we select your answer, we'll publish it as part of my most groundbreaking book yet. Email your answers to savageanswer@gmail.com. 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 Please limit your answers to 250 words per question. And there are 13 questions about how to save America. I'll read you one of them right now. Take a break, come back to all this and more right here on the Savage Nation. Question 1 for the contest. With the state of the republic right now, what do you think are the main elements of a solution to our unresponsive government? Is it electoral, constitutional, grassroots, local politics, or 700 Hells Angels? I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. So that's the theme song to the 7-year hit series Mad Men, which just ended last night on A&E, I believe. And A&E is a low-grade, AMC, sorry, is a low-grade cable channel. It's full of ads, which, I'll tell you the truth, the ads can drive you insane. Last night was a disgrace. Matthew Innes should be given a goat's head for what he did. 3 minutes of a show and 2 minutes of ads. I couldn't take it. It's disgusting, but all right, whatever. I have ads too. What can you do? You have to pay your bills. But if you go to cable, I mean, you're paying for it. Why do I have to pay for ads? Here, you don't pay for anything for my show, so I need ads. There, you're paying cable. Anyway, music. Mad Men, the themes, the songs. Well, I understand they were selected by renowned music supervisor Alexandra Patsavis, and they set the tone for the entire series. And what is the theme of Mad Men, and why should you listen to this? What was the appeal of that? It's basically about the loss of innocence of individuals and America and the downward fall of its main characters. Isn't it about that? So in the beginning, early years of the show, heavy on popular jazz, crooners, standards, youth culture, rock and roll burst onto the scene later on with Chubby Checkers, Let's Twist, and Let's Twist Again. That ushered in season 2. Then there was another cultural sea change. The arrival of psychedelia, LSD, psilocybin, mushrooms, marijuana, symbolized in episode 8 of season 5 of The Beatles. And on and on. So music's a very big part of the show. Diverse music selection, and it really is important to understand that. As much as it was important in The Sopranos, and as music is important to my show, incidentally, I would say Michael Savage's talk show has music as a central theme. Behind the scene, there's music. I send messages through my music. Did you know that? Like today, I didn't open with, what do I normally open with on Monday? That's a 5-second question. What is it? Blue Monday, Fats Domino. 20 years I did that.
Blue Monday.
Bingo, but we're not doing it. See, that's the downbeat you're used to. Instead, I open with this. Let's play the one I opened with today in case you missed it. And if we can...
You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love.
Beautiful song. Beautiful song. I'm the music supervisor of the Savage Nation. Depending on what I want to listen to, I play. I love it. The music makes me happy. It makes me sad. It gets me up. It throws me down. But nevertheless, here we are. Are there any ad men listening to this show who were ad men in the 60s, who watched Mad Men, who now listen only to Michael Savage because I'm the person you've always wanted to be? Can you imagine if you had left advertising, went to Esalen, became a hippie, grew your hair, became a hippie, found yourself, and then became an herbalist, traveled the islands, etc., and then wound up on radio later on in life, pontificating and making a good living at it? That's